Welcome to the walkthrough of frequently made mistakes I observed when reviewing the Assignment 1B solutions for my CS Scalable Microservices course in the spring of 2024. First, make sure to comment your code thoroughly using the guidance provided here, or it will not be reviewed. Let's take a look at some of the problems people had with the skeleton proxy side. So make sure you use from path here instead of from URI string. Don't pass true to build, just call build. And make sure you call build. Don't use from URI string with movies base URL. That's handled in the get rest template bean. Use from path here as opposed to path. Down here, likewise, don't use from HTTP URL with the movies base URL. That's handled in the get rest template bean. Once again, don't use path, use from path. Down here, something important is missing. Make sure you always put build in right before you call to a URI string. Down here, also don't be using this from URI string with movies-based URL. Use from path here and make sure that you encode the specification comment properly. There's a specification comment above that talks about encoding. Make sure you encode the regex query parameter. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's wrong. Make sure that you just use build here. You don't need to use build and expand. Down here, please watch the bare quotes case study to learn how to do all this properly. We used string constants here, and likewise, we're using the web utils helper method that's going to take a list and turn it into a string. Down here, make sure that you encode the regex query parameter prior to using it to construct the URI. Something important is missing here as usual, so make sure you put build in. Down here, for the proxy for search movies using a list of regex queries. Once again, don't use from URI string with movies base URL. Use the from path instead. Don't use path. And take a look here at the bare quotes and prime checker app case studies to see how to implement this logic. I'm not sure why people aren't looking at that code. It gives great guidance on what exactly to do and how to pass the test, so make sure you do that. Something important is missing here. This is not being properly turned into a list. Likewise, something important is missing here. It's not being encoded. Once again, don't use from URI string, but use from path instead. Okay, moving on to the controller side. Please name the method that gets all the movies. Get movies, not get all movies. That's what the tests expect. Down here, don't use string literals, use string constants. Down here, something important is missing. Let me move this up a little bit because it's in the wrong order. So you can see here that you need to make sure that you put something here that's missing. Once again, go back and take a look at the bare quotes and prime checker app case study to get guidance. There's no need to be decoding anything here. That should be done in the movie service class. Down here, make sure that you don't do encoding here. There shouldn't be any encoding. That should be on the client proxy, not on the server controller. Okay, let's now move into the movies service file and some problems I saw there. You don't need to do all this complicated stuff. Just return movies directly. A lot of people weren't reading the specification comments. Read the specification comments. They give you lots of hints. This code is too complicated and doesn't implement the specification comment above. Just use a return of search list of query. Down here, this code is recursive. It'll never stop running, so don't do that. This code is, again, way too complicated. Just read the specification comment above and follow this guidance that's provided here. Down here, don't use arrays as list. Use list of. That's not really a big deal, but it just makes it simpler and may pass the test better. Again, don't use collection singleton list. Use list of. That's the modern Java way of doing things. Don't be decoding anything here. That needs to be moved down into the search method that works with a list. Now we're in the search method that works with a list. Be very mindful of applying the don't repeat yourself principle, where you take a look at the various helper methods that are defined in this class and call those rather than rewriting the code again. Moreover, this code actually has a bug because something is missing here. So once again, this is why you really want to get in the habit of calling those helper methods. Same issue here. Do not call your code in line. Do not expand it in line. Make sure that you call code that's been properly refactored. There's a method that does this. I think there's a comment that tells you to do that. So make sure you use the helper methods. Make sure you fill in the code for doing barrier synchronization and checking for errors. That's all described in the videos that we've been going through, either in any of the forms of the class I'm teaching. Down here, make sure that you follow the specification comment. There's a step that's missing here. Step number 2, which is in the comment up here, is missing. It's not being done. Please use toList rather than collect toList. Down here, this code for get matches is way too complicated. There's another specification comment here that says exactly what to do. It says call the helper method. Call the helper method. This code here doesn't belong here. Don't be using collect to list, or collectors to list, use to list. Likewise, down here, don't use collectors to list, use to list. And I've been putting these in the frequently made mistakes videos, so make sure you watch those and make sure you address them in your code consistently, so I don't have to keep repeating these same comments. There's step number 2 is missing here. This is not meeting the specification from the specification comment number 3. You need to do case insensitive comparisons. You're not doing that here, so you're going to get weird results. Make sure you comment your code thoroughly. Again, code that's not commented will not be reviewed. You need to call a helper method here rather than writing this code in line, as per the don't repeat yourself principle. This code is also unnecessarily complicated, way unnecessarily complicated, so think carefully about what it's doing and how to simplify it. And down here in concat matches, this code is too complicated. There's a specification comment above number 1 that talks about what exactly to do, so follow that. Make sure that you comment your code, and also make sure to use toList, not collectors to list. So get in the habit of doing that. And then the final thing here, you don't need to use local variables, just return the result of calling the stream directly. That's way cleaner. You don't need to call filter, since flat map list stream will do that for you. Just pass in the list stream method reference to flat map. There's no need to call distinct here. And finally, just use toList, not collect toList. So those are all the things I saw thus far that were problematic. Make sure you address this code and these comments for the next version. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in office hours, class, or on Piazza.